As we can see, the plot thickens. I love how they keep insisting, this is clearly a virus. All their scans didn't detect it, but clearly this is a virus. It is nice, by the way, to see Fives and Tup in action again. In fact, actually, one of the things I like is that they kind of keep track of the same general clones throughout the entirety of the Clone Wars, and thus we have recurring stories amongst them as they slowly die off one by one, like Tup has finally done. Also, the very idea of hypertests is really messed up. Yes, it's this massively devastating testing facility, but it'll get results very quickly. Actually, I kind of like the idea of that. Don't mistake me, I enjoy Star Trek medical technology as much as anybody, but I like the idea that, well, we could do standard tests, which will slowly inject you with stuff and slowly do stuff and leave you unconscious, or we could basically zap you full of stuff and you're in horrible agony, and we get all the results very quickly. Which would you prefer? There's this nice bit where the droid's like, I always wanted human feelings, but I don't have them. Bye! AZ3 is actually really awesome in this whole episode. AZI3. I don't know how you're supposed to say that. I was thinking AZ3 because AZ3. But I also love the irony, the amusement of this situation. A clone and a droid working together to save a clone. I also love the fact that Fives manages to convince AZ to follow him basically by logicking his way through his programming. As we've seen before, the programming of droids is, well, fairly lackluster, really, when it comes to adhering them to a certain quality. What I mean by that is, it's not a ironclad form of control. It's one of the reasons why most droid owners use restraining bolts, in case something goes wrong with their programming, or they go out of bounds of it, or whatever. Because he's able to say, what's your highest directive? Save the patient? Well, there you go! Then all we got to do is this. You know, I do enjoy their interactions, and I like the way Fives talks his way through that. I also like how they argue Shakti and I don't remember how to say her name, Kaminoan lady, both argue over the rights because, as you know, these clones are actually the property of the Kaminoans. I sometimes wonder if that was some kind of legal problem at any point in time for the Republic, because that implies that they're basically renting these clones rather than having purchased them, which, I mean, honestly, both of those have their own problems, but let's just move on from that. I do like Fives' statement. We don't go by numbers anymore. And it's true. For the most part, most of the clones have gone by nicknames for basically the entire series, to the point where most of them, including Fives, obviously finds it offensive to be referred to by his number of 5555. I like how Tyrannus shows up in this episode and still presents himself as if he's a Jedi, by the way. Like, if you'll notice that, his entire thing, despite being called Lord Tyrannus, is that, no, we don't understand. This is there as a safety measure, not as anything else. We need to make sure this is all safe, and blah, 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 blah. Also, there's this bit where the Jedi say, we want to examine him with the Force. Why don't they have Shakti do that? I mean, I'm sure it's not her specialty, but you'd think she could just do a scan or something, right? I don't know. So, how did they miss the tumor? Now, I know what you're going to say, and it's the same thing I'm going to say, because there's only two possibilities here. Either their medical scanning tech is actually kind of crap, or they didn't miss the tumor. They were just hiding it deliberately from the hyperscan. It's like, oh, yeah, I don't see anything here. Beep, beep. What's that beeping thing? Oh, that's my microwave. My microwave's going off back in my apartment. I need to go deal with that. You know, just something like that. There's this really chilling part where Tup says he's free from the mission, and Five's like, what are you talking about? What mission? You know the one that we all see in our dreams, the mission that never ends. And the camera bothers to pan to each of the clones in the room, and each of them, like most of them have their helmets on, but each of them just kind of react in just a little bit of a way because all of them know what he's talking about. It's actually really messed up when you stop to think about it. And I have to admit, that's a nice little bit of directing work. The directing's been generally good for the last, like, 2 seasons in this, not a game, in this show, so that doesn't really surprise me. That's all I've got. It'll be interesting to see how Fives manages to save the day. He's gonna save the day, right? I'll see you next time, guys.